The stars of the outer rim were silent that night, the void stretching endlessly in every direction. Most ships were docked or on routine patrols, their crews blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to descend upon them. In a forgotten sector of the galaxy, on the derelict mining colony of Karsus, 9, a girl known to most as Lyra Kale scraped by on the scraps of civilization. She was 19, wiry and unremarkable, and the Council of Colonies had deemed her worthless. A drone without talent, without ambition, and without future. Even the other children at Karsus, 9, avoided her. She spoke little, kept to herself, and refused to join the labor crews that mined the planet's brittle metal veins. To them, she was nothing. But beneath her quiet exterior, something was awakening, something ancient and powerful that the galaxy had long forgotten. The colony and the outcast. Karsus, 9 was a grim place. Its metal towers scraped the crimson skies, the surface scarred from centuries of mining. The air was thick with dust, and the winds howled like the cries of lost souls. Lyra lived in the lowest levels of the colony, in the abandoned habitation tunnels, surviving on discarded rations and mechanical scraps. The overseer, a corpulent man named Drex Vero, frequently taunted her. "You're useless, Lyra," he sneered one morning. "Another lazy mouth breathing in the dust while the colony works. One day, you'll rot here like the rest of the failed." She said nothing, merely watched him through the grimy viewport. But inside her, a quiet fire began to burn, a fire fueled by every insult, every glance of disdain, every door slammed in her face. Lyra wasn't born ordinary. She had seen things, heard whispers in the dark of the abandoned tunnels, felt currents of energy running through her veins. It started as flickers, a light turning on when she walked by, a vibration in the machinery that obeyed her will. She had no control and no one had noticed, but one day, she would. 2. The Armada arrives. The first warning came as a tremor in the outer atmosphere. Alarms blared across the colony, red lights reflecting off the metal walls. A massive fleet of warships appeared on the horizon, eclipsing Karsus 9's 2 suns. The Xyrax Armada, merciless invaders from the neighboring galaxy of Vorith, had arrived. Their ships were jagged, black as obsidian, bristling with energy cannons capable of leveling planets. Colonists panicked. Drex Vero barked orders that were impossible to follow. Most workers fled or froze in fear. Lyra, however, felt a strange resonance. The vibrations of the ships, the hum of their engines, even the heat of their plasma shields, all of it called to her, intertwined with the currents she had sensed all her life. A voice whispered in her mind, not human, not alien, but something in between. "You are the key. You are the storm." Lyra didn't understand the voice, but instinctively, she ran to the control hub of the colony, a place no one dared enter, said to be haunted by the ghosts of engineers long dead. 3. The Awakening. The control hub was a tangle of wires, holographic consoles, and broken AI systems. Lyra's hands hovered over the interface. For the first time, the flickers of power within her surged outward. The screens lit up, data streaming faster than her eyes could follow. She connected herself, not with machines, but with the energy that ran through the colony itself. Metal trembled, circuits sparked, and the AI systems that had been dormant for decades awoke under her command. She realized with awe that she could see the Armada, not just the ships, but the crew inside them, the flow of energy within their weapons, even the synchronization of their formation. She had become the colony's nervous system, and the Armada, she realized, was blind to her presence. 4. First strike. From the bridge, Lyra extended her consciousness toward the nearest enemy vessel. Energy arced from the colony's defenses through the atmosphere, striking the lead ship. It shuddered violently, then exploded in a brilliant plume of blue fire. The Zyrax fleet roared in confusion. Their formation broke. Drex Vero's men stared in disbelief. "What, how?" he stammered. Lyra ignored them. She focused on the second ship. With a thought, magnetic currents twisted the hulls, tearing them apart as if they were paper. Plasma weapons overloaded, shields collapsed, and the Armada's numbers dwindled with terrifying speed. Every strike, every move, was guided by the ancient energy coursing through her. Lyra had become more than human. She was a conductor of destruction, a force of the cosmos that had been dormant until now. By the time the third wave of Zyrax fighters approached, Lyra's power had grown beyond containment. She unleashed a pulse so immense it vaporized several ships simultaneously. Those who survived fled into the void, leaving only wreckage behind. The Council watches. News of the massacre spread faster than light. Across the Outer Rim, the Council of Colonies convened an emergency session. They had always underestimated Lyra Kale, had called her worthless, incapable, expendable. Now, holographic feeds showed the charred remnants of the Zyrax Armada, drifting like tombstones in space. Counselors whispered, some in awe, some in fear. She destroyed an entire armada, one muttered. They called her worthless, another added, shaking his head. And yet she wields power that could rival a fleet of battleships. Back on Karsus, 9. Lyra walked through the smoking wreckage of the colony's outer defenses. Drex Vero approached her, eyes wide with fear. You did this, he stammered. I didn't just do it, Lyra said softly. I am it. 6. The Zyrax retaliate. The Zyrax were not so easily defeated. In the weeks that followed, they returned with reinforcements, thousands of ships, each more heavily armed than the last. The Outer Rim trembled under the threat of annihilation. Colonies pleaded for protection, and the Council debated sending fleets, but none could match Lyra's singular power. She trained in secret, honing her abilities. She learned to manipulate gravitational fields, to bend matter, to convert energy into destructive force. She became not just a weapon, but a shield for every life that had scorned her. When the Zyrax finally arrived again, she met them in the void. Entire planets watched as Lyra orchestrated a symphony of destruction. She split asteroids into projectiles, redirected solar winds into plasma beams, and used the momentum of the fleet against itself. By the end of the battle, not a single Zyrax ship survived. Entire formations had been shattered by what the galaxy would later call the Kale Wave. Her name spread like wildfire. She was no longer worthless. She was inevitable. 7. Recognition and fear. The Council of Colonies officially summoned her. She stood before the Great Chamber, a solitary figure against a backdrop of anxious officials. Lyra Kale, the council speaker, intoned. Your actions have saved countless lives, yet you operate beyond our understanding. Will you accept our guidance, or shall you remain untethered? Lyra smiled faintly. I don't need guidance. I need freedom. I need the galaxy to understand that power is not given, it is awakened. Whispers filled the chamber. Some were in admiration, some in fear. But Lyra didn't care. She returned to the stars, a lone guardian, a storm in human form, a force that had turned her so-called worthlessness into the salvation of countless worlds. 8. Legacy of the Worthless. Years later, stories of Lyra Kale spread across systems. Children played with models of the ships she had destroyed. Scholars studied the Kale Wave, trying to understand her abilities. Military strategists debated whether anyone could ever match her. Lyra herself remained elusive. She drifted from sector to sector, saving those in need, striking only when the balance of life itself was threatened. And on Karsus 9, the colony that had called her worthless, a statue was erected in her honor. It bore no plaques, no titles, only her image, a young woman with eyes like burning stars, standing tall against the infinite dark. Beneath it, the words simply read, "The Zyrax had been defeated." Entire fleets lay in smoking ruins, drifting like tombstones in the void. Yet, even in victory, Lyra Kale felt the weight of the universe pressing on her shoulders. She had become more than anyone could imagine, a weapon, a savior, a storm incarnate. And yet she was alone. Karsus 9, the colony that had once rejected her, had begun to rebuild. Children whispered her name in awe, adults spoke it with reverence, and some in fear. Statues had been erected, but Lyra herself avoided the accolades. She didn't seek fame. She sought purpose. One evening, as twin suns set over the crimson plains of Karsus 9, Lyra stood on the cliffs above the colony. Her eyes scanned the horizon, distant stars twinkling with untold possibilities. The whispers she had first heard as a child, the currents of energy that had always been inside her, returned, stronger now, clearer. There is more beyond this conflict. There are others like you. The universe calls. Her chest tightened. She had expected peace after defeating the Zyrax, yet the universe had other plans. Somewhere out there, civilizations still struggled, threats still lingered. Lyra was not done. She never would be. The last test. A signal flickered across the colony's communications grid, a distress beacon from a neighboring system under siege. Zyrax remnants? Perhaps. Or something entirely new. Lyra didn't hesitate. For the first time, she fully embraced the energy that flowed through her. It was no longer a secret power. It was a part of her being, an extension of life itself. She rose into the skies in a vessel of her own creation, powered not by engines, but by pure energy. The winds of Karsus 9 bent around her as she ascended. Colonists watched from below, mouths agape, witnessing a girl once called worthless become a comet blazing toward destiny. As she pierced the atmosphere and vanished into the stars, a message echoed across the void, not in words, but in sensation, in understanding. Every being capable of feeling power, fear, and hope knew her name. Lyra Kale, the silent guardian. Weeks passed. Karsus 9 thrived under the legend of Lyra Kale. Traders spoke of her as a myth at first, then as a confirmed savior. When Zyrax or other threats appeared on the periphery of human space, she struck unseen, a phantom whose presence was felt only in the aftermath of obliterated fleets. Her enemies learned quickly. No fortress, no armada, no weapon could withstand her. But she did not seek conquest. She protected life, not to gain recognition, but because she understood the fragile beauty of existence, the light of a child, the hope in a colony, the pulse of a star. And yet, in the quiet moments, Lyra wondered about her place. Was she the universe's weapon, or its sentinel? Was she alone, or were there others like her waiting beyond the veil of the galaxy? The answer, she knew, would reveal itself in time. The cosmic awakening. One night, far beyond the outer rim, Lyra felt it, the currents of the universe converging. Planets, stars, nebulae, even the dark void itself, seemed to whisper. She lifted her hands to the cosmos, sensing patterns no one else could perceive. The Zyrax were but the first challenge. Greater threats were coming. Forces older than civilizations, older than time, stirred in the darkness. and she would meet them. With a final glance back toward Karsus, 9, Lyra smiled. She was no longer worthless. She was everything the galaxy needed, and perhaps everything it feared. The stars themselves seemed to bow as she soared past them, a streak of energy and defiance. The legend of Lyra Kale would echo for generations, a reminder that even those cast aside, those dismissed, could rise to become the storm that reshapes the universe. And somewhere in the silent reaches of space, distant watchers, ancient and inscrutable, took note. A new player had awakened. Lyra Kale, the girl who had been called worthless, was now unstoppable. The galaxy held its breath,